Oh man, well fam, Marital Arts fam, thank you so much for rocking with us once again. Today we want to talk about the art of making traditions. So this is usually something that kind of comes up somewhere near the holiday season where everybody has their traditions. You know, families have their traditions. And one of the interesting things about a marriage is how these traditions come about. You know, are these traditions that are passed on from, your families, or are these traditions that you've never had but always wanted to have? So we wanted to talk about how we can make traditions in a way where not only that they last, but these are traditions that can be passed along from generation to generation. But how do we get there though? So babe, how does this work? How do we do this making tradition thing?
I think it's simpler than we make it. I think in my mind, when you imagine tradition, it's oh gosh, I don't know. Old England comes to mind, right? Like the kilts and the family crests. It's now just about connection and making memories. And those two things could look like a lot of different stuff. You know, say that it is a birthday, a perfect example, and maybe the traditions that you want to continue are not necessarily a gift and an extravagant party and 9 million people and a write-up in People magazine. Maybe it's, I want that person to feel celebrated in the way they want to feel celebrated that year, and to feel like we went above and beyond to do it. It's not a normal day. So that's more of a quality. It's not a cookie cutter event planning recipe, which I think sums up what I think is wrong with tradition nowadays, is instead of it being about connection and what's special to the people involved, it's about event planning. You know, they pay people to plan events, but how did that become the centerpiece of your family's memories? And memories are so important because they're our love bank. Like, that's what fills our heart up with our relationship foundation. It's like, oh, I remember when, oh, I remember when. So yeah, I think it's connection and memory making.
I love both of those. Especially, I want to key in on the connection part because, to your point, like a lot of times when these things become just about being the event, we're so into the details of the event, the perfection of the event. We're not even connected to the people the event was for. And so I know for us, I love how, like, some of our traditions have evolved, but every single one of them that I'm thinking of all have to do with something that connects us, whether it's something that makes us laugh when we do it or when we think about it, or just something that allows us to spend more time with each other and with the kids. Like I was thinking of our Christmas tree tradition, which changed.
Oh my gosh.
It did. So our tradition was, it started off as, this is a funny tradition that started off as a joke. So I had a joke with her. This is before we had even gotten married, where I did her Christmas tree.
But you gotta understand, I am an artist. Like, I'm a visual artist. I'm a designer. Like, I had bought all the decorations for the tree, and I am a Christmas fan. It's my favorite holiday. So I was super excited about decorating the tree. Like, this is my thing. And then this happened.
So I decided, it's like, you know what, babe? You're not going to touch nothing, girl. I'm going to decorate your tree. Here's the hilarious part. And I don't know that you knew this. I'd never decorated a tree.
Oh my gosh, that makes it so much better.
In my life.
Confidence, babe.
Never. Oh yeah, I stepped up like, yo, I got this. And I've, taken part in maybe adding an ornament or two, but had never actually decorated a tree. And so, I was just like, yo, I want to decorate this tree for you. And so I did that. I was like, now here's the thing. Can't touch the tree. So I decorate the tree, and she loved it.
Yep.
And I was shocked because this is one of the things I love about Melissa. Girl, she would tell me like that. It's not hidden. And loved it. And so for the next like several years, I was like, nobody touches the tree. I do the tree. So I like
and
owned
I tried
this thing.
once. I asked, I was like, hey, you know, can I maybe pitch in? Can I offer some creative direction from the couch? And this ninja told me you can. Just know that I'm going to put it where I want to after.
Ownership.
I was like, what is this? So yeah, the Christmas tree decorating was a tradition.
It was, but it really started off out of a place of fun.
Yeah.
And then it stuck for years. Really the last 2 years, right?
Maybe.
This year and the last 2 years, I finally let her decorate the tree. But for me, it became a real fun source of pride, knowing that I could do this thing artistically that she could appreciate, and also just do something that she didn't necessarily have to put any work into. Like I just was like, you do a lot. Like you do all the lights and all the stuff everywhere else. Let me just handle this one thing and take this off your list. And so,
sweet.
But it became a fun thing for me. And so, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But that's how that tradition came about. Prayerfully, that is how all of our traditions come about. So that tradition with the tree started out of a fun place, and it stuck for years, and it became our thing. But ultimately, that came from just understanding that, and I think you were just talking about it, one of our values is fun. That's a thing for us. So talk about the importance of values, because I would love for you to go in on that, because you're great at really getting the importance of it.
We don't always call them values, but anything that seems important to you when you think of, I mean, connection is a value for us, but it's also a need. And so anything that seems important to you when you think of creating a memory, the stuff that stands out in your mind most about that and about connecting with someone, those usually begin to look like your values. If when you think about a memory, it is super active, there's a mountain involved and somebody's sweating, like clearly physical activity is a value. Like you want to be active in your memory making. If there are, trying to think of another value, because there's so many, and some of it is like charity. It may be that your memories are helping someone or helping a crowd of people. That's a value to build your memories around. And so for traditions that fall around major holidays, because in the US we got a holiday for everything. But Christmas, for example, you know, we were talking about our Christmas tree and this one part of our tradition, but we also do like gifts, and there's certain values we have around that. We are frugal. We value frugality. And while some of that comes from just not being super wealthy all of our lives, we also don't value overindulgence. Like there's something about simplicity that really speaks to our souls. And so if, you know, your values are charity and, you know, being active, then maybe you organize a community hike, or maybe you find a way to give back over the holidays, and that becomes a part of your tradition. And so that kind of summarizes how to key in on what your values are, because they're not always, these are my good Christian values. Like that's not the same for everyone. So,
and I think you hit on something too, what jogged something for me, is those values evolve and change. And so the traditions we had when we were married without kids are not the same as the ones we now have now that we have kids, because one of our consistent values has been an expression of love. And so whatever traditions we build, at the end of that tradition, at the end of the memory made from that tradition, I want you to have felt loved by me. That's a goal. That's a value. That's a Quay staple. That's something I want in our family. And so now we have kids. So now it becomes, how can we do things that allow our kids to know that we love them now? And then when they look back on it, they say, oh, mommy and daddy loved us when we did. So I think that has a lot to do with how traditions come about also, is not just the values in a particular moment when that tradition takes root, but also how your traditions evolve as your values evolve, as your dynamic in your marriage or your family changes too.
Yeah, I think that's why connection is such a great part of this. There's so many things that I think come to mind for this discussion. One being traditions that are handed down by your family take on a different look when you're not with your family for every holiday, okay? So we're not talking about convincing your parents and your grandparents to change the way they do their holidays.
That's good.
If you are alone in your home with your spouse and your children, or without your children yet, then what does your tradition look like? And being 100% aware that it's your choice now. It doesn't have to look anything like what the family you grew up in carried on as traditions. Your Christmas holiday may be painting an easel and giving it away to someone or setting it on fire. Who cares? Whatever it is that allows you to make a memory, look back on it fondly. But the connection part is so key, because I think what we're really looking for with the aim to build a tradition with another human being is this idea of connecting to them. And so creating something ritualistic that honors your values and allows you to connect with someone. As an example, it took me a while to realize my tradition was that I wanted to be with a certain group of people doing certain things on a certain day. And it took the right circumstances where I was around two different groups of people doing two different things. And I felt more filled up. My heart felt light, and my spirit was buoyed by one group more so than the other group. And I was like, wait, the group I felt better with wasn't doing what I thought was traditional. And I was like, oh. And then I played it back a little more and realized the difference between the two groups was how connected we were in that space. And so whether it's 2 people or 100, whatever allows you to feel connected to the people around you will really help build a lasting memory. And that's being present, right? Like, you're not on your phone. You're actually talking to people. You're actually making eye contact, asking questions, expressing concern and care for one another. Those seem basic, but I think that's a vital part of your tradition building. So,
100% agree. Like, what are you taking from the traditions that you've had? Like, what have you gained? Which is a great thing. Like, because some of us have traditions that have been passed down that have not necessarily built us. These aren't traditions that are fond memories, but out of repetition.
Like, if someone makes a carrot casserole that nobody eats, why do we have to have carrot casserole?
We don't need it.
We don't. And if their mac and cheese is better than yours, can we receive?
Listen,
you know,
we can replace. It's all love. We don't have to have the carrot casserole just because it's been there for 13 years. For 13 years, people, it's probably the same one. They just bring it out the freezer. We don't need to do all that. Like, it's great to note, like, what traditions do you have that are traditions that have built and instilled the values or encouraged the values that you want? Versus traditions that are just there out of repetition. I think once you can sort through that, it makes building traditions and continuing traditions in your own family that much easier.
Yeah. As you were talking, I just thought about another aspect of this, which is when it comes to, like, okay, so we're doing this out of repetition. A lot of times, our families grow, evolve, change, right? People are getting older, their interests are changing. And part of what we want to keep in mind with connection is, okay, no, you don't have to make sure everybody's happy all the time. but paying attention to how engaged people are during an event. And if, like, there's 3 elders that are in the corner looking mad, and that's not their regular MO, can somebody check on them? Can we bring out the cards so they can play bid whist? Or if there's a teenager, if every teenager in the house is in a different corner on their phone, but legitimately, the rest of the room are 2-year-olds who don't speak, and 2 couples that aren't speaking to anyone.
Yeah.
Like, what are the things that can bring people together, or that can, you know, help people feel like they're a part of what's going on? It's something that we don't often pay attention to when a tradition becomes just everybody goes to Granny's house and this happens. And so everyone's just sort of sitting there instead of experiencing one another. So paying attention to what individuals' needs might be and what their interests might be if you're going to do a gathering is a change I'd like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And also, having the permission to begin traditions is something in particular as married couples we have to do. Like, every family has rituals and traditions that have been passed along, but there comes a point as you have your marriage, and then at some point if and when you want to start your own family, if your values are not the same as the values of the previous generation that shared their values with you, we have to then have that honest conversation and be like, okay, I'm glad my mom and my grandma and my great-great-grandma, I'm glad they all did that, but that's not where I am, and that's not what I want to pass down from my family. It is okay to have that honest conversation
With your spouse. We're not saying call your grandmama, your mama,
with your
auntie
Thank you.
on Christmas Eve and tell them your thoughts about...
This is a great point. So great. Thank you for that. We're not saying now you need to go all the way up the line and start judging everybody for what they did. And then, no. If we're starting from scratch with a new tradition, the first place it starts is with your spouse. And you say, hey, this is what our marriage is like. What are the values that we want to instill? What are the connection points, the touch points, the memories that we want to make? What is the image and fashioning of the life that we're sharing? What does that look like? And how can we put things in place that keep that growing? That's ultimately what you want with the traditions in your marriage, in your families that you keep. Now, if you happen to want certain values and they're already built into the traditions you've continued, keep them. But I do want, especially for younger couples, newer couples, who are just like, hey, I've only done it this way, and it's the only way I know how. We always have the raisin bread. We always have the this. We always have the that, and you become like trapped almost by this tradition because you don't know what. It's okay to just sit there and be like, well, what do you want to do? It's your marriage. It's your family. It is all right to say, here are our values. Here's what we want to put forward. Let's do it our way.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll add to that is to remember that if your tradition is tied to values, connection, memory making, the great thing about that is it leaves room for flexibility. Mm-hmm. If it's tied to things, objects, places, individuals, not that people are things, but you understand what I'm saying. If it's tied to those things, there's not a lot of flexibility, and life changes, seasons change, and you may, over 3 Easters, if you celebrate Easter, one year be raring to go and do an Easter egg hunt for the whole community, and the next year want to be in a puddle in the corner fasting alone with only your husband 100 feet away, preferably. And then the third year, nursing quadruplets. Like, we don't know what these seasons are going to look like.
That's real talk right there.
And if the aim is values-based, then at the end of this holiday, you can look back on a memory, and we're not dealing with, you having missed the mark, or there being any shame about it, or there being any worry or, loss attached to it. If you want to be in bed on a holiday, that's okay. Someone I work with told me their Thanksgiving was alone, watching a movie, and his heart was full, and I felt it in my spirit. I was like, oh my gosh.
All I need is, and my heart is full. That's it.
The rest for me.
That's it.
This is what I want, and so it shall be.
Listen.
And this is a person with a full, happy family and grandchildren, and they were like, this is what it was. And I dealt with them the day before, I dealt with them the day after. And this day was what I was like. And those are, like you said, your heart is full. It's just so important, I think, to take away this focus on objects as a part of tradition and instead make it about things that allow for flexibility.
Oh man, I can't add to that. That was it. That was it. Landing the plane right there. I love that you took the focus off of the things, because at the end of the day, it is about the people and the connections and how you build those connections, and ultimately, how full is your heart when this thing is done? When you can do that consistently, that's a tradition to keep. Yeah, we're gonna land right there. That was all like warm and fuzzy. Thank you, babe. And hopefully it was warm and fuzzy for you too. And if it wasn't, if this struck a nerve and you're just like, hey, I want to keep my traditions or any of that, please let us know in the comments, because if there's if there's an angle of building traditions that we didn't get a chance to discuss or missed, please bring it to our attention, because as you can tell, week by week, we kind of love to talk. So we will absolutely bring that thing up at another episode somewhere on socials. We will absolutely cover it. Like, subscribe, do the thing that you do. Find us, The Marital Arts. Let's keep this conversation about the realest parts of marriage going, not just for the married fam, for my single fam, for my fiancéed fam, for all the fam that is just interested in how this thing called marriage works. Holler at us. We are here to talk with you. Love y'all. Take it easy.